because too much bleeding. Too much.
How's your breathing?
No. Too much bleeding coming out.
What's the address of the emergency?
Next to the Chinese supermarket. My friend called me. I'm not living there, but she can speak English. He just lie down on the floor. Too much bleeding coming out. Some guys take a knife and kill him. Oh my God.
West Midlands Police have been called to the scene of a fatal stabbing.
Inside you've got a Chinese adult male, I would estimate in his 30s from what I've seen, who's got multiple stab wounds.
Detective Inspector Jim Mahon is the senior investigating officer at the crime scene.
We have a young lady, also Chinese. She's heard a bang and a black male has entered the address wearing a balaclava. She's hidden herself away in the bedroom, and when she's emerged, the victim had been stabbed. All of this has come through speaking to a Mandarin interpreter on the phone.
With no suspect, and the key witness only able to give a partial account, detectives looked to crime scene coordinator Joe Ward in the hope that forensics might provide an early lead.
Perhaps if we get suited and go and have a look.
Yep.
I've probably dealt with 50 murders over the years, possibly more. Every time you go to a murder, you just don't know what you're going to walk into. Always still have those butterfly feelings. People might think you kind of get used to it, but you don't really. It's an absolute bloodbath. Absolute bloodbath. It's quite shocking, the amount of blood that's in the scene. There's blood all up the walls, it's all over the city, the victim's lying on his back on the flooring, so there's an awful lot of blood on the flooring as well.
Where are his main injuries, have you seen?
Certainly got some stab wounds to the chest area, yeah. He's certainly bled out quite a bit. There's certainly some injuries to his hands by the look of it as well. Yeah, perhaps defence injuries, yeah. When he was being stabbed, he may have tried to grab the knife, which has then caused what we call a defence injury. So he's tried to take the knife off the offender. He's obviously tried to fight back.
The forensic team combed the property for evidence.
Why was this person killed? Is there a motive? The scene tells a bit of a story. If you can identify a motive, it'll then lead you on to other areas where you can investigate to then hopefully identify the offender. Obviously got blood on the bed, on the fitted sheet, and then on the drawers as he pulled them out. I wonder what he was after. The drawers had been pulled out on the side table and blood staining on the wall and on that bedside table. It's quite apparent that there'd been a search within that property.
Your condom just there. And what's that? Baby oil?
Baby oil and yeah, hand sanitizer. Toilet rolls.
I'm just wondering if this is a brothel.
It's certainly looking like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like many big cities, there is a network of sex work within Birmingham, but it is often underground. As police, we often do come across places that are being used as a brothel. And then where you've got brothels, you might also have links to criminal gangs involved in trafficking and exploitation of individuals.
Witness is saying she's illegal, so she's probably going to be the sex worker.
Yeah.
He's probably acting as a heavy or
Right.
as a protector, taking the money after the hunters have left.
Yeah.
For any murder investigation, you try and keep as open mind as possible. It could be anything from a straightforward robbery because there might be money on the premises. It could be a person that's using the sexual services, then something's got out of hand that's then led to some sort of violence. It could be something to do with organised gangs, so there's quite a few thoughts going through my head.
The team examine the body before it is taken away for post-mortem.
See the stab wounds there, look. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It obviously was quite a frenzied attack on the victim, hence why there was so much blood in there.
But it is saturated, isn't it?
Yeah. The person that's committed this offence is obviously a dangerous person. We need to get them in as soon as possible.
Investigators identify the deceased as Jin Min Yang, a 41-year-old Chinese national.
Whenever you hear a phone ring at a crime scene, first thing you think of is, who is the person ringing? Could be a family member. It could be the offender that's on the other end of the call. We just don't know. People might think it's strange that we don't just answer the phone, but as yet, we actually don't know what's gone on in this crime scene. So what you don't want to be doing is answering the call and creating any issues when obviously we're going to be extracting information from that phone. We need to just have a visual without disturbing too much, just to see if there is another phone in here.
Yeah.
Investigators discover the victim has 2 phones. Both are recovered and will be sent to digital forensic specialists for examination. With no sign of the murder weapon in the property, police search for any evidence the suspect may have left behind while fleeing the scene.
So small.
They really are.
They discover a trail of blood leading away from the crime scene.
Because he's been stabbed numerous times, has the offender, as he's been stabbing him, cut his own hand?
Maybe.
Or is it just dripping off the knife? Identifying the blood trail, it's going down the stairs, leading to the pavement. This is a real significant find.
Do you expect if he's been stabbed a lot, if
Yeah.
he's still got the weapon on him, it
Yeah,
would drip
it's
off,
dripping,
wouldn't it?
yeah. Blood is a really good source of DNA. So finding blood, hopefully we get a DNA profile that may identify our offender.
The blood is swabbed and will be fast-tracked to a specialist lab where it will be sampled and profiled against the National DNA database.
In forensics, the first 24 hours is critical. So we've obviously got to treat a blood trail as a priority because we don't know whether it's going to rain and possibly wash it away. When you've got an unknown offender, the sooner you get that person in custody, the better chance you have of him still having blood on the clothing. He hasn't had time to kind of wash it, he hasn't had time to dispose of it. The pressure is on for us because we want to find out who's committed this horrendous offence.
The scene is cordoned off. A more detailed forensic investigation will be carried out in daylight.
Right, morning everyone. This is a briefing for a murder investigation which we launched last night. The deceased is Yin Ming Zhang. We also have another person that was present in the address, which is a SIG witness, and a possible sex worker. I think that's going to be one of the challenges, that our significant witness is not going to want to tell us everything for fear that she's implicated in some sort of criminality. So that's going to be a hurdle that we need to get over, but she's a victim and a witness. The murderer would have an interest in harming her or influencing what she says because she witnessed that murder. We know she's been trafficked into the UK by a criminal gang, so the trafficking gang don't want her to implicate them in wider criminality, so it could be that she's intimidated and she won't want to tell you everything that's happened. We need to trace the family of the deceased. All we know so far, I think, is that potentially he's got a wife in China, but we've got no details of any immediate family. Working hypothesis is that the suspect has targeted the premises for the purpose of robbery. He's been challenged by the deceased, acting as security, and fatally stabbed.
We need to find the weapon so we could identify the offender. There may be fibres, fingerprints. The weapon might have blood on it, so there's a possibility of Lefty's DNA.
Key aims and objectives then, firstly to identify the suspect, forensically examine the scene, to search the surrounding area for evidence, but primarily the murder weapon. Coming away from the scene is a trail of blood, some blood spots as it goes down the stairs, so that could either be drips from the knife, from the victim, or our suspect could have been injured. Every hour that ticks after the crime is committed, you're potentially losing forensic evidence from the suspect. The longer it takes, the more that crucial evidence can be destroyed or disposed of. We have to remember the suspect could offend again, so getting him in custody quickly or identifying him is really key. Cheers, everyone. Thank you.
The murder took place close to Birmingham's main shopping centres, in an old industrial part of the city.
They've got a camera there, a camera there, a camera there, so that box is off this end.
Specialist CCTV coordinator Andy MacDonald leads the search of the area for footage that could have picked up the killer.
There's some real good potentials there, isn't there? Them are new cameras, look at those, they're brand spanking, they are.
The city centre is covered in cameras. Every shop, every street will have cameras on them. Once you get into sort of residential areas, a lot of people have doorbells with CCTV covering their home, so it would be hard to completely evade cameras.
This isn't going to be about one camera that's great quality. You are looking for every camera. So it's trawling and recovering anything and everything in Zone 1 at the moment.
Hunting for CCTV in the vicinity of the crime scene, officers spot a camera outside a Chinese supermarket, just 20 metres away.
Do we know if is that the only entrance, do we know?
We believe. CCTV is a major part of how we conduct our investigations. If it is in close proximity to a scene, it may tell us people who've come and gone at the time of the offence, immediately before or immediately afterwards. It can even lead us to identifying a suspect.
Oh, there you go. So there she is.
On the camera, police find footage of the witness fleeing the scene.
Comes out at 18:51. And apparently she's saying to staff now, somebody's been killed, somebody's been killed. There.
As they review the footage, they spot someone entering the premises at the time of the murder.
It's a reasonable assumption at that stage to say that's our suspect. He's a male in dark clothing with a mask on. You can't identify a suspect. So we're looking at the clothes he's wearing, if he's carrying anything, the direction of travel he's taking.
So he's still in there at the moment? Oh, come on, not this way anyway.
Yeah.
There.
Although detectives aren't able to identify the man in the footage, They now have their first sighting of the suspect and an indication of his movements after the attack.
Now we've got something to go on, and we need to focus our efforts on using this information to find him.
Officers conduct a forensic search of the area the suspect was seen heading towards.
We're looking for any forensic marks, a murder weapon, any items that have been hidden or discarded.
The swabs taken by Joe outside the crime scene must first be confirmed as blood before they can be processed for DNA profiling.
To test the swab to make sure that we have blood, we use the Castle-Meyer and the hydrogen peroxide reagents. And we've got a bright pink reaction which shows the presence of blood. So I'm just going to sample the tip, and then that will go to the DNA unit for profiling.
We've got blood in the scene, which is a rich source of DNA. What we don't know is whose blood that is.
Next, DNA is extracted from the samples. Forensic scientist Charlotte Hargreaves analyses the results to see if there's a clear enough profile present which could identify a suspect.
So you can see that there's DNA detected.
If the blood contains the offender's DNA, hopefully we can identify the offender. Joe Ward, crime scene coordinator. Yeah.
The results from the DNA comparisons are back. The victim's profile is the only one present.
I was hoping it would kind of come back to the offender, but it was kind of one of those that I think we just had to try.
With the initial blood samples failing to identify a suspect, Joe returns to the crime scene with blood pattern analyst Phil Field.
This distribution down here stands out as well.
In this particular case, one of the priorities to consider is the possibility that the blood might be from someone other than the deceased.
The morphology of these stains at the end indicates direction of travel right to left as we look.
Phil uses his expertise to interpret the crime scene and look for any opportunities to find the killer's blood there.
If the victim fought back, he may have injured the offender. There's always a possibility when it's quite a frenzied stabbing attack like that, that the knife gets wet with the victim's blood. It gets slippy, and there's always a chance that the offender's hand could slip onto the blade and cut themselves.
So clearly super heavy staining there, strongly suggesting that an attack has taken place in this region.
On the floor, at the edge of the settee, there's a distinct concentration of blood which would support the view that the deceased is actually laying on the floor in that region whilst bleeding heavily from his wounds.
With the victim's blood covering the floor, any blood spatter left there by the killer will now be difficult to identify.
These very large spatters on the seat cushion of this settee are really, really interesting. They're so big, so full of volume, that they could potentially be an arterial rain.
Yeah.
Typically, we might see arterial blood from neck injuries, arm, chest injuries. The blood's under pressure within the blood vessels from the beating of the heart. Because it's quite heavy blood staining, the blood spots themselves are quite large. It's more likely to have originated from the deceased.
The forensics team turn their focus to blood on the wall, near where the attack took place.
I think this is likely to be a cast-off pattern, so blood cast from a moving object that's wet with blood. And because it's really fine, it's just one track, and there's a potential for that to be something like a knife. And if the offender has been cut as well, you know, we could have cast off blood from an offender.
Yeah.
This distribution suggests that the source of the blood was swung from right to left, approximately 1 metre from the floor. The nature of the blood patterning indicates that the blood is actually from the deceased.
This particular distribution here is quite interesting. I think there's quite a lot of opportunity here for blood from assailant and victim's blood.
I can be reasonably confident that certain areas of blood staining are from the deceased. But if I'm working with a hypothesis that an assailant may have been cut and injured at the scene, some of the more subtle spatter patterning could have been left by another person, and therefore I'll want to target those specifically for some DNA profiling work.
Further samples will be taken from these locations and sent for analysis, in the hope of finding DNA that could identify the killer.
So, clear indications to support movement through the property afterwards. Obviously, signs of disturbance in the room, bearing those in mind, having a look down this side of the bed.
The team trace what they think could be the killer's movements through the property after the stabbing.
There's some transfer staining on the bedside cabinet here. Like potentially finger swipes as well.
Finding fingerprints at a crime scene will 9 times out of 10 identify your offender. If the fingerprint is in the victim's blood, that obviously puts that person at that crime scene at that time of the murder. Could actually solve the case.
There's some blood around there behind that handle.
Every contact leaves a trace. You touch an item and you haven't got gloves on, the expectation is that you either leave your DNA or fingerprints, whether it's latent or whether it's ridge detail in blood.
There's more on this area, Joe. There's quite a lot of marks there.
Yeah. And that would kind of fit in with him jumping up on the counter.
It would, yeah.
A latent fingerprint is a print that's not visible to the naked eye and enhanced by using either chemicals or fingerprint powder.
A kitchen cupboard door is recovered from the scene. This will be examined for any fingerprints that could have been left by the killer.
We're going to apply fluorescent dye. It'll basically just stick to blood, so when it's viewed under a blue light, it will actually fluoresce.
Fingerprints give us a result quicker than sending items off for DNA. Any potential fingerprint within a crime scene is submitted to the Fingerprint Development Lab. And obviously, if the fingerprint's found, they'll be searched against the National Fingerprint Database to see if they match anyone that is known to the police.
The National Fingerprint Database contains the fingerprints of over 8.3 million individuals and 26.2 million fingerprint identification forms.
So now we can view it under a blue light, which will fluoresce the yellow dye.
Fingerprints are unique to each individual.
Fingers and palms have ridge skin known as ridge detail. These form intricate patterns and characteristics which make a print identifiable.
With the amount of blood at the crime scene, there may be more of a chance that you will have some ridge detail in blood left by the offender.
So I have a sequence here of what looks like 3 pressure marks. But there is no ridge detail in there at all. Now I'm going to treat the handle.
handle is treated with superglue to help detect and enhance any detail that may be present.
Superglue adheres to salts that come out of sweat, so obviously it will adhere to fingerprints. Once I run the cycle, the chamber will humidify, then the superglue will vaporise and stick to any salts present on the handle.
Once the glue is fully vaporised, infrared light is used to find out whether there are any hidden prints on the handle.
What I'm seeing is the blood mark here, and we have got a little bit of ridge detail just around this area here.
If Michelle finds enough characteristics in the ridge patterns, then the fingerprint could potentially identify a suspect.
There is a small area of ridge detail. I have got a couple of areas. Unfortunately, there are no characteristics. Therefore, I'm going to no value it and it won't go to the Bureau.
With no fingerprints linking a suspect to the crime scene, investigators will have to rely on the blood swabs taken to provide a forensic lead.
So the results come back on the first submission that we sent, which was the blood from the blood trail coming down the steps towards the pavement. Those have all come back, unfortunately, to the deceased.
Right, okay.
Kind of understand just coming out of the address, if he's, you know, it was obviously quite a heavily blood-stained scene, so you'd expect him to be dripping blood like that. It's obviously disappointing not finding a fingerprint or the suspect's blood in the crime scene, but at the end of the day, we can only recover what's there. He may have been wearing gloves because they've potentially come with some gloves and they've come with a balaclava. Just makes me think, has this offence, has it been pre-planned?
So that's in there, yeah?
Yeah. So you get a glint of the face mask.
Yeah. Right, let's try to get some best images of this guy.
Detectives review all the police footage gathered on the night of the murder, including body-worn video of the witness.
What did you see? What have you seen?
In any investigation, witnesses can provide us with real crucial evidence. Where the offenders touched, searched, what actually happened during an attack. But dealing with a witness that's gone through a traumatic event can be really complex.
She's in distress. She's just witnessed possibly one of the most horrific things she'll ever witness in her life. She doesn't understand English, but she's clearly trying to get officers to try and help the victim who's lying in the address.
Hang on, stay there.
I cannot imagine having witnessed a person being attacked so brutally, and I can't imagine what she's going through. We believe she's been a victim of human trafficking, and part of that human trafficking is that she has been forced into this sex work.
Someone that's been trafficked, they've come here being sold a better life, but what their traffickers will tell them is that you can't trust the police, that the police are corrupt, that if you say anything to the police, you could get sent back to the country that you came from. So we have to contend with the fact that she might not want to tell us anything.
With police unable to count on the sole witness testifying in court, they turn their attention to CCTV captured in the vicinity of the murder.
So this is our suspect. This is the camera slightly further down. But we can see these same features, the same bag.
Anything distinctive or unique about a suspect is important.
We can see this white sort of rim around the sole of the trainers of this individual.
Their height, their weight, their build, their clothing. Are they carrying anything? Is there anything distinct about them?
He's got quite a distinctive walk, hasn't he?
He has, yeah. He's got quite a distinct gait. And then he comes back this way after the offence.
We'll collate all that information from CCTV together into a profile. And that could lead us to knowing who he is.
I wonder if that's the knife. Is it something in his hand? It's shiny as well. I wouldn't expect a hand to do that.
If we haven't immediately got the identity of the person, then we need to throw the net as wide as possible.
Okay. See if we can get a better camera that's going to catch him close up so we can see the intricate detail of him. And then we'll use that as our base as to what he looks like to track him. Get the minimum of 1,700 hours to 2,200 hours, and all cameras inside properties outside.
We create CCTV zones around the scene, and those will be trawled in their entirety to gather every conceivable piece of CCTV we can find.
After 2 hours, the 6 officers searching for CCTV make an unexpected breakthrough.
There you go. So there's the spot.
You see it there? Oh, some here as well.
They discover what looks like more blood spots.
Just there, little spots of blood. And then one there. And again one there. All less than sort of half a metre, 60 centimetres apart. All the way up the street.
It's just splattered all the way along up to Cheapside.
Joe?
Yeah?
Do you want to come and look at this?
Just had one of the CCTV lads down there. They've come down Moseley Street and right into Barford, all the way up to Cheapside, and there's blood trail all the way along that path.
He's got to be bleeding.
He's got to be injured.
He's got to be
It's not going to
bleeding.
be dripping off and off, is it, that far?
So we're going to have to extend this scene out and block this off till we can get the forensic people out. Nobody's going on the footpath, OK?
I'm confident now we've potentially got a chance to have DNA of a suspect and their image on CCTV. In most cases at that point, you're going to start to identify someone.
That's showing that he's come all the way down this path, doesn't it? But where he's gone left or right from here will be down to footage.
With the blood trail cordoned off, forensic scene investigator Claire Stewart is sent to examine and swab the droplets for DNA.
Joe Ward, crime scene coordinator.
Hi Joe, it's Claire.
Hello, you're right.
If you come down from the flat, there's a signpost called Moseley Street.
Yeah.
That's where my first drop of blood is.
Yeah.
And it goes all the way around the corner, down to where there's like a skip, and that's the last bit of blood there.
Oh, OK. Are they quite kind of small drops of blood, or?
They're certainly drops of blood.
Yeah.
So they're not like a swipe, like they're on clothing or shoes.
Yeah.
It certainly looks like somebody's bleeding, I would say.
Identifying the blood trail is a bit of a breakthrough, really, because it suggests to me that possibly the offender has actually cut himself. So we are one step closer to hopefully identifying the offender.
You wear your full PPE because it is so easy to transfer DNA. This is why we clean all our equipment, wear your double gloves. We don't want to put any of our DNA into a scene. The wet one loosens the liquid on the floor, so that in this case it's apparent blood. And then the dry one will pick up the remaining.
So we've got him walking down Cheapside. It looks like he's potentially holding his hand.
With the blood trail revealing the suspect's direction of travel, detectives review all CCTV captured from along that route.
We've got him here. We've recovered different camera angles that capture the suspect pre and post offence. It looks like he's wearing gloves, but obviously if it's cut himself that bad and it's dripping through, yeah. So potentially we might have, obviously, if he's bleeding, any blood stains on the top of there as well. He then goes on top of the van, and then they lose sight of him. He doesn't come back out that way from what they've watched, so potentially he's jumped down onto the River Ray.
Definitely need to go down there, don't we?
Yeah. The River Ray runs through Birmingham city centre. That route is likely to result in him not being seen by other witnesses post-offence, where potentially his clothing's blood-stained and he's injured. Is he trying to evade detection and cover his tracks?
The police team begin an initial search of the surrounding area within a kilometre of the river.
This is believed to be where the exit point is, and then...
Yeah, so we know he's come from Cheapside down the River Ray.
Water can destroy DNA. So if he's gone to the canal to dispose of anything, it gives us less chance of recovering it. But there's always a chance that DNA can survive. If you have a knife where there is some blood in the hilt of the knife that may be protected, that may still be there even though it's been in water.
The forensic team find more blood drops from the suspect's escape route.
As you can see, there's blood found on kind of the left and the right side of the ladder. Where he was seen on CCTV to climb over a gate and then over the fence and then climb down these ladders, which then lead onto the River Ray.
The blood drips, and that leads us to the river, are becoming less and less, which means that either the blood's drying up or the bleed is starting to slow. It draws a line for any tracking of that person after the offence.
Morning, everyone. Another briefing for Up Yurt. This is the investigation into the murder during the robbery of a brothel on the 9th of February. We're on day 5, and as yet we have no identified suspect. We still have not got a next of kin for the deceased. We don't know the phone number, address, don't know the location of the murder weapon. We've done continued searches along the route close to the scene.
We've got some potential forensic evidence that's going to maybe identify somebody. We've got that image of the suspect. It's not perfect and hasn't actually given you any further lines of inquiry. 5 days down the line, you are waiting for that breakthrough, really.
Despite the team finding the suspect's blood trail down to the river, they will now need to wait to see whether DNA tests can reveal who the blood belongs to.
We don't know if the suspect's left any DNA or fingerprints at the scene at this stage. We don't know the mechanics of the actual murder or the ordering of injuries at this stage.
Our footage seems to suggest he's gone straight down here.
With the team now on the trail of the killer, Detective Sergeant Damien Forrest leaves a multi-agency search for the murder weapon.
We thoroughly searched the flat where the murder happened. We haven't found the weapon that was used. After he's left the scene, the suspect may have discarded it, potentially into the river.
Obviously, yeah, you're entering in with your poles. Just kick searching with your feet. looking around any sort of holes or ledges where anything could be concealed, and then make your way back out.
The River Ray runs through the city centre and out through Digbeth, and it has lots of storm drains and tunnels that are built into it. If they can be accessed, then it's really important that we search them.
Remember, we're only doing about 25 metres.
Yeah, OK.
We've got specialist teams that are trained to search those areas, methodically recover everything within them, and we've got really advanced techniques of science that's able to extract lots of evidence from those items, even if they've been in water for long periods of time.
OK.
Happy it's all clear?
Yeah, it's fine.
Good boy. Good boy.
One of the specialist teams searching the river is the Forensic Dog Unit. These dogs are solely trained to identify blood and are deployed in searches for weapons and bodies.
A forensic recovery dog will identify blood spots, and any void is a potential place where things can be hidden. And we're working into the wind to help them. Good boy.
As well as the river, officers search the local drainage networks. In one of the drains, they make a discovery.
Got a large kitchen knife.
Right. The only description we've got is from our significant witness who was inside the address, who's described it as, she said it was like a few centimetres short of being a rough book size, so that size blade is consistent with that. There's a drain. In that drain, there's a kitchen knife.
All right, nice one. Cheers. Found a kitchen knife in a drain. It doesn't look rusty.
The knife can be examined to see if the blade matches the characteristics of the wound. "300 metres from the ladder, which the suspect may have used to get down to the river, officers make another discovery. A pile of burnt clothes that could belong to the killer.
Clothing can be quite a good source of DNA. Obviously, if you wear an item of clothing, then you sweat, you shed skin cells. But DNA can actually be destroyed by fire. The items were burnt. Has he come prepared with a lighter or with an accelerant because he wants to destroy any evidence which may be on his clothing? This tells me the suspect clearly knows what he's doing and his frantically aware.
Next to the clothes, detectives find 3 faint drops of blood.
It's the blood spots.
The killer may not have been successful in destroying all the evidence.
See, it looks like, I mean, not all of it's burnt. I mean, we might still stand a chance. We'll obviously have a look when we recover it, but...
Brilliant.
But yeah, good find.
They seize the clothes to examine them for DNA.
I think he plans to go down to the river is his escape route. Change his clothing and make it more difficult for us to track him after the offence. This suspect, he's clever. He's aware of police techniques. He's aware of forensic links from clothing, blood, and the weapon. It's a well-executed crime. I would expect that he would be a known criminal.
FSI have marked out where all the stab wounds are, where the knife has gone through. So you've got quite a few there to the chest area.
The team reviews photographs of the victim's blood-soaked T-shirt, along with the pathologist's post-mortem report.
The model enables us to envisage how many times he was stabbed and the amount of blood loss. It was nothing but a frenzied attack. It makes me question the actual mindset of the suspect. There's nothing to suggest the victim had any weapons to attack him back, so that makes me think, with that level of force used and how many times he was stabbed, is he enjoying what he is doing to the victim?
One went through the carotid artery and the other went through the jugular vein. From the face and through the larynx. It's almost like slitting someone's throat going through their face, through the cheek. What type of person would commit that sheer level of violence? The chest ones weren't that deep, they were only muscle, sort of, but they were quite grouped. There's 13 wounds in the chest alone. It could have been a sadistic, seriously violent attack, and this person gains some sort of motivation or pleasure from that. Whether they have something to do with another criminal gang, there could be a number of possibilities.
Could you start ringing round?
Following the theory that the suspect could be a known criminal, detectives do a search of previous crimes from the local area.
Okay, all right, lovely.
There's a very similar offence from the back end of last year.
Was it one person or more than one?
个人啊，个子还不是很高。
Not very tall. Can he give anything more of a description? Obviously, it was black and bald, you know?
Yeah.
Male turned up, knocked the door, was let in by the male, and then he was attacked. Described as black male, 5'5" tall, slim build, dressed in black.
Very similar to that man.
Yeah, but as I'm going through the crime, the injuries, it was multiple stab wounds. He said he got a gun as well. The victim thought he was going to die, but he had all his hands, he ended up with fingers amputated.
Oh, okay.
But he lived, and he gave an account and said it was a brothel, and we took a call, and when I let him in, he attacked me, and my job was to take the men upstairs to the girls in the room. It makes me think that someone is targeting the brothels as a way of making money, so it supports the notion of it being a robbery, but it also is worrying the level of violence that's been used.
Looking at the vicious attack that we carried out on this previous victim is quite concerning. I mean, the question for me is, has he just never been caught and arrested?
But what's sort of interesting is, if he has gone south on the river, this is our offence location. So
it's obviously lives local to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The same area, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Especially if our suspects living somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
So we know that his last sighting is that he gets off the canal here at Five Ways. He's gone past our offence location of Mosley Street.
Having reviewed over 5,000 hours of CCTV footage, the detectives are able to narrow down the geographical area of interest.
He's then gone in and committed the offence in this location here. Yep. He's then come back out.
They rule out the knife found in the drain as a possible murder weapon. Its location does not correlate with the killer's escape route.
We see on the CCTV he doesn't walk past that drain where that was recovered from.
So we've looked at the river, we've looked at the canal. Hypothesis is the offender is likely to live in this area. He's obviously confident enough to get on the canal. So is he going to live in and around there to be able to get on there?
With the suspect believed to be local to the area, detectives circulate his CCTV image and description to all West Midlands officers.
Good morning, everyone. Up here to briefing. So, officers were on patrol around Warwick Street, which is not too far from our offence location. and have seen male and thought he matches the description from the CCTV. So a decision was made to arrest him.
Have you been arrested before? What's your name?
The suspect was picked up near the murder scene and gave a false name to officers when they stopped him.
And what's he here for?
He's been arrested on suspicion of murder due to him matching the description of the offender.
What's interesting is they've observed him walking, and in their opinion, he walks very similar to our man from the CCTV.
And what's he here for?
If you could just take a seat inside this photo booth. Lovely. If you could just open your mouth for me.
The man in custody has his DNA taken to confirm his identity. The swabs will take 72 hours to process and come back with his DNA profile.
DNA probabilities are around approximately 1 in a billion, so DNA will tell us whether this is the person we are after or not.
Right, just an update. I've had a forensic report from the lab.
While checks are run on the man in custody, Joe receives results from the blood trail, ladder, and burnt clothing.
They don't match the profile of the deceased, so that would suggest that that's our suspect's blood.
The DNA profile for the suspect can now be checked against those already on the National DNA database. Meanwhile, the swabs for the man in custody are still being processed. If he has previously offended, his DNA profile may already exist on the database.
For this level of crime, you'd expect a suspect to have committed more minor offences before and been arrested and have their DNA and fingerprints taken off them. So you'd expect their DNA in the database.
I'm just calling in relation to Opiate, which is the Digbeth murder.
Kim checks with records to find out whether the arrested man's profile is already on the system. This can then be instantly compared to the suspect's blood found at the scene to see if it's a match.
He's been arrested quite a few times before. His DNA was taken twice. It looks like on the same occasion, according to PNC. So it's an up-to-date sample. The National DNA Database holds over 5 million individuals' DNA. Individuals' DNA will be uploaded if they've been arrested and then cautioned or convicted of a crime. Yeah. It definitely does say DNA confirmed. OK. Brilliant. Thank you. Cheers. Bye.
Records reveal that the man in custody does have an uploaded DNA profile.
There is a barcode for that DNA. Potentially, we can just give them our offender barcode now and they can compare the two and give us an answer as to whether it is him or not.
Joe Ward, Crime Scene Coordinator.
The results of checks for the DNA found on the blood trail, ladder, and burnt clothing have come through.
So there's been no matches. Which is a shame, but I think we've reached a bit of a dead end with that.
The DNA profile for the suspect does not match anyone on the database, including the man in custody.
Come on, my friend. OK, listen to the sergeant.
As the man in custody is no longer considered a suspect, he is released.
I'm so gutted. But you know what? That makes it more worrying. The fact that
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah.
committing such a horrendous offence.
Well, yeah, to go from 0 to that.
In my career, I've not had a case, certainly a murder case, where we've got the suspect's DNA at a crime scene and it's not on the database. For someone to carry out this vicious and ferocious attack To then not be on file is quite concerning.
We've had a DNA come back to say it's an unknown third male. He's been searched on the database and he's no trace.
No trace?
No trace.
It's just absolutely devastating news. By doing my job and finding the evidence, we still can't identify him. Yeah, with this level of violence, you would have thought that he would have been on the system, but...
Unless he's only recently come to the country at this at his age now, and has offended in different countries, or he's good at what he does. What we've got is a seriously dangerous individual. He's hurt one person, he's killed another. We do not know what he's capable of. At this stage now, all our short-term strategies haven't yielded anything, but we've got his DNA, we've got his image, and this person might be sitting there now thinking that they've got away with murder, but ultimately they won't, because we will not stop until we find them.
10 years ago, this would have been the end of the road, but with forensics always evolving, it's just another hurdle that we need to overcome. We will broaden our investigation and draw on the resources from the forensic community to dig deeper and leave no stone unturned. He'll have slipped up somewhere along the line and not know it, and I think we'll identify him.